With us, we do have the Senator for Nandi County, that is Samson Cherargei. Mheshimiwa, welcome to Radio Generation. It's an absolute pleasure to have you this morning.
Thank you very much and good morning.
Yes.
I'm happy to see all of you guys.
Right.
I think C.T. Moga, I was wondering where he was. But now I know where he's hiding from. Good to be in Radio Generation.
Yes.
Thank you very much for hosting me. As you have said, I'm the Senator of the Republic of Kenya from Nandi.
Right.
You know, senators are from, not for, because we do national duties.
Yes.
So it's good to see you, and it's a pleasure to be in Radio Generation. I think this is my first time, and it's an honor to engage on issues that you have raised. Although I am surprised by the topic, but we'll go through.
Well, Newton Odari has actually touched on that particular topic already, and probably we'll start from there.
Yes.
You've been very passionate about this whole issue of term limits.
Yes.
Maybe you can tell us why that thought, where it actually emanated from, and why you think perhaps we need to consider this whole issue of term limits.
I think this discussion we have had on a number of occasions on different platforms.
Right.
And there is a confusion that is happening currently. So let me clarify. I saw the Senate did issue a statement. By the way, there are two constitutional amendment bills. One that originates from the National Assembly, which tried to entrench CDF, which the National Assembly passed. I'm surprised Kenyans did not notice that they have passed. It was put on the order paper in the Senate, but it was never done reading, because the Senate Business Committee, and we did a Senate Kamkunji, we said we must horse trade. So what did we do? We drafted the constitutional amendment bill originating from the Senate. So that's the second constitutional amendment bill, which we are doing public participation towards the end of this, across the 47 counties, towards the end of this month.
Okay.
Then there was my bill that had those issues that you are raising, but it went through public participation. The jailer committee is yet to table the report. And I want to clarify to Kenyans, that's a private member's bill.
Okay.
Under the standing orders, the bill can come in two forms, either by the majority leader or minority leader, what we have seen in the broad-based or what we call NADCO bills. You remember the NADCO bills?
Yes, yes.
Then there is a private member's bill, and I have sponsored a number of bills in the floor of the Senate. So, and many Kenyans disagreed with the issue of term limit. And there is a process on how that I will handle that bill before we are on recess up to around 23rd September, and then we can give way forward on that bill. But I think there was a mix-up on the three bills. Two bills, one from the National Assembly, one from the Senate. And in any case, most of these proposals to the Constitution must go through popular initiative or referendum.
Yeah.
So Kenyans should not worry. It's just a game of musical chairs, because when you look at the entrenchment of the CDF, for example, you must amend the Constitution through popular initiative. When the Senate, by the way, the only difference between the bill from the National Assembly and the Senate is that National Assembly wants to entrench CDF into the Constitution. The Senate wants to have an expanded mandate, including veto of the bills, because at the moment the designers, and I didn't know, the people who designed 2010 never thought that would run for Senate. So what they did, they mutilated the role of the Senate. They made Senate skeleton, and in fact the thinking of the committee of, I think, the National Assembly then thought that the Senate would only miss twice or thrice the way the House of Lords in the British, the UK was. But when the committee of experts, and you had the review of Kenya, the 15 years when we were in Devolution conference, is when it was reviewed, they realized, in fact, when it went to Naivasha, the National Assembly then removed the Senate. It is the committee of experts who brought back the Senate and say, to protect devolution and the interest of devolution, we must have Article 96. And that is what emanated. But on this conversation around constitutional amendment, we as a country, it's 15 years down the line. Is it now the proper time to review the Constitution? You remember the calls for passing Osho was, let's amend then pass. Others were saying pass,
then amend.
Tupitishe ndio turekebishe, ama turekebishe tupitishe. So that has been the conversation around it, and I want to assure Kenyans that let us be clear that there are two bills, three bills to be precise, one from the National Assembly, one from the Senate, and I think that is what Senate was responding to, and one from mine, which in the process we will either withdraw if the public overwhelming after the public participation, but there are processes on now. But I can confirm to the country, as you have said, it originated from me.
Yeah.
I have sponsored many bills on the issue of PS interns. I have sponsored on the County Attorney Act, which was passed. I have sponsored on the issue of anti-stock theft stealing bill.
Yes.
I have sponsored even the bill on the Amendment of Public Procurement and Disposal Act. So I have sponsored many bills. As a parliamentarian, you have a right to sponsor as a private member's bill.
Yeah.
It doesn't originate from my sponsoring party. It doesn't originate from any
This is your personal.
This is my bill. But on the other bills, the one, you remember the National Assembly, they had even to bring a member of parliament who was sick with an oxygen because they need the two-thirds to pass. So it is not easy. So Kenya should rest easy. To amend this constitution ni kama kupanda mchongoma.
Yeah. And whatever happens, happens.
Yes.
But this is now also me just coming to you on a personal level. I just wanted to understand, and I'm sure I'm probably speaking on behalf of very many
you
Kenyans.
wanted to know the rationale.
Yeah.
The reasoning.
Yes.
But by the way, are you aware that Kenya is on campaign perpetual mood for every year? By the way, do you know we have never stopped since 2022? You have read something about the
we have never stopped since 2008.
Correct.
Campaigning.
Yes. In fact, even from MCA, and I've been in this politics for some time, and God has been gracious because I have been given a number of elections. I've gone through almost 3-4 elections since I came into politics. And I've realized even after, when you are declared as maybe after being sworn in parliament, the following day you visit a social event like a funeral. A guy has started campaigning for an MCA for 2020. The same thing in this country. So there is bad habits. So we are wondering, could it be the reason why we don't have serious development? Is it because we are doing too much politicking? Do the people who are in seats should close their ears and eyes, use the monkey principle and concentrate on delivery?
Yeah.
So my question was, I think it is 5 years too shorter for people to concentrate on what they are doing. It is not it might not be the beneficiary might not be the people in power now. The beneficiary could be even in posterity. So some of these laws, we do it for posterity. It doesn't mean that even when CDF was done in 2003 by Karue, it did not benefit the members of parliament then. It benefit even the people who passed 2010, promulgated 2010 constitution are not beneficiaries. The people who are beneficiaries are total. So we do most of these things in posterity. So we were wondering, if you look and I'm not a proponent that we should remove democracy, but if you look at the countries that are run by monarch, like UAE, like countries that have been run like Rwanda, like Saudi Arabia, Dubai, there is some semblance of a more focused development agenda as opposed to what we call glorified democracy. I'm not saying
Rwanda is not a monarchy, Mheshimiwa.
No, I'm saying like countries like Rwanda
have 7 years.
7 years, even I think it was Chad or which country, that stability, the political stability to be able to focus.
Right.
And in this country, we need a benevolent dictator, for example. Because, in this country, even if you want to construct a road near this, your street, today we want to come and...
George Padmore.
George Padmore road here.
Yes.
I'm telling you, if today you say you want, somebody will rush to court. Somebody will protest. Somebody will... So this country, will we believe at the mercy of too much freedom as opposed to development? Because the people who use this road would want to use it daily.
Right.
Conveniently, they don't want potholes. But when you want to fix potholes, somebody will say, city, we don't want this road to be fixed because either they have their own interest, the political interest, economic interest. So I think at the end of the day, we must, as a country, the rationale and reasoning behind it is that we need to have a more political stable environment.
So, Senator, then is the problem our constitution or is the problem us as Kenyans? Because no matter how many times we amend that constitution or extend the term limits and even say, let's say we make it even 10, does that mean that we'll stop politicking really?
Yeah, to some extent. Because in my own thinking, if it is 7 years to come, of course you will go back to your shamba or your businesses and allow the people who have been elected to run government or to run county assembly or governors. But I think the point is, somebody will ask, and then what are the safeguards? We already have a safeguards. You saw the other day we almost impeached a governor.
Yeah.
So we have impeached a sitting deputy president. So the fact that the fact that all this, there is already a constitutional safeguards, because somebody will say you are bringing dictatorship, but there is vote of no confidence, there is the impeachment process, there is the violation of the constitution, the incapacity. All those factors are safeguards, because somebody will ask my brother that, for example, if you say you give somebody 10 years or 7 years, in fact I was surprised when that conversation happened. Some people were saying let us have 10 years one-off. Yeah.
So
when we did public participation in KICC last year, and I remember people were saying, okay, this is the best. Why don't you 10 years one-off? Just one single term. So, this is a conversation. We are a democracy. We should have a conversation on anything and everything under the sun.
Yeah.
I have seen other people discussing about even scrapping the Senate. Other people are saying you remember the former Prime Minister when we were in Devolution conference in Mombasa was even saying the counties are too much. We need to reduce. Others were saying, no, we need to have governors instead of being elected. Let us have appointed governors. So these are conversations, my brother, that we'll keep having, because it's a democracy.
Right.
You have my right. You have your right to say. I have my right to say, but the majority have their way. So we are just having a conversation as a country by saying, what is it that we want to achieve as a country? What is it? What is the conversation? The conversation will always, by the way, there are people who are saying, let us entrench CDF. Some people are saying, now let's take the money to governors.
Yes.
Instead, let the national, in fact, the former Prime Minister and a number of us have agreed that let the MPs concentrate on legislation, representation, oversight, and budget making process, so that they keep off because we have only 2 levels of government, so that when we are doing division of revenue, we give division of revenue to national government and the county governments. And so that's a conversation that we'll continue having.
We'll get to the
others,
CDF.
by the way, in conclusion, sorry for forgetting this,
okay.
The other people, the MCAs are now saying, give us what development fund. So some people are saying, why don't the MCAs do oversight, legislation, representation, and do the budget making process?
Senator, what I find strange in all these discussions, I don't hear the Council of Governors talking about how to raise own source revenue. I don't hear them discussing vigorously how county governments can trade with each other. Because you hear of a trading block. A trading block doesn't have to be outside the country. From among ourselves, because we have different strengths.
Yes.
If county governments could raise their own source revenue to the point where they could actually run on their own source revenue, to the point where they could even have a surplus, this would be a completely different discussion.
Like California or something.
Yes, but California.
No, I'm just saying.
I am agreeing with
GDP,
you.
Yes,
their GDP is a GDP that is
4 countries.
Precisely.
Kenya, Rwanda, Burundi, and Tanzania.
Yes. Own source revenue is not a focus, and yet it should be, because when county governments are strong in trade and in business and in growth, the country is strong in business and in growth.
Correct.
Because they are within the country.
And I want to agree with you, because we were in Machakos yesterday under the ICT committee of the Senate, where I'm a member, and we visited Machakos to see if they have digitized the issue of revenue. In fact, by the way, governors have succeeded to make sure ordinary mwananchi in Kisumu, where you come from, in Nandi, in Nairobi, they have made sure that wananchi only focus on equitable shareable revenue.
Yes.
That is dispersed by the national government.
Yes.
They never talk about own source revenue.
They do
in
not.
fact, Nairobi here has a revenue potential. Indicators of Commission of Revenue Allocation, CARA, points that CRS, or a Commission of Revenue Allocation, points that Nairobi has a revenue potential of own source revenue of 63 billion. But they are collecting 13 billion. But you'll never anybody discuss. Nandi, I was in Machakos. The revenue potential of Machakos, all revenue streams, the permits, the sales and everything, they have a revenue potential of 7 billion, but they are collecting 1.2 billion.
It's even more. Machakos County has industries like very few other counties have.
Correct.
Okay, within their borders.
Yes, correct.
Now, how they compute revenue. Why I'm bringing this thing up
Yes.
is because we always seem to have very vigorous discussions on things which don't really matter. In my opinion, I'm going to say why they don't matter.
Yes.
This revenue, the revenue that is divided from the national government, and you put it correctly, seems to be the focus of discussion.
Correct.
It's an amount that we know. We know the amount.
Correct.
Now,
and in fact, to add to you, there is also conditional allocations of through Kenya Urban Support Program of World Bank.
yes.
So apart an additional funds, so we have additional funds, we have funds from donors, we have also revenue and equitable shareable revenue.
See?
But they have made us focus on equitable shareable revenue.
All source revenue, which
Yes.
in my opinion
Yes.
is what should be the focus,
And
because
in addition, sorry.
yes, no, please go ahead.
In addition, we allocate around 20 billion through equitable shareable revenue to Nairobi
Yes.
City County.
Yes.
But if the Commission of Revenue Allocation revenue streams indicators show that they can collect 63 billion. So imagine if Nairobi could get 60 billion in their own source revenue, they would not need 20 billion
They would
from
run their own-
national
or
treasury.
they would have a surplus.
Yes, correct, to give it to national government.
You see, I am of the view that when we talk of national development and we
Yes.
talk about increasing our GDP, increasing our revenue, the focus on the national government and activities of KRA. But the activities that are the clear indicators of economic growth should be in the counties.
Correct.
And it should be county focused. Because when it's county focused,
Yes.
then, as I said, you aggregate them, it becomes a national aggregate.
Correct.
But that discussion is not had.
Because the Council of Governors, even when they rejected the e-procurement, the Council of Governors would not be keen for the spotlight to be on them.
That is a cartel. I don't know why it is that Council of Governors.
But it's never entrenched. We have told them, can you entrench? Because I sit in Senate Public Accounts Committee, they use their funds to fund. By the way, they allocate 5 million per county. So times for 7 counties. It is like the CAF. They also these county assemblies
what's
run by
a
the
5 million?
speakers.
What's a 5 million for?
That is why we have queried, and that is why we normally tell them to surcharge them to refund the money. Because under the Intergovernmental Technical Relations Committee, IGRTC, and even the Act, we have told them if you want COG to be funded, you must allow them to be the legal framework.
Yes.
You cannot spend without the legal framework. Everything you must spend within the legal framework.
And they
So
don't have
we
one.
have challenged them, and that is why they don't want the e-procurement. They have gone to court to block the e-procurement because the pending bill of counties is approaching 200 billion. There are many businessmen and women in Kamakweni, in Garissa, in Nandi, in Kisumu, in Busia that are dying out of diabetes and depression because they have supplied to the counties and they have never been paid.
Yes.
But when you come to National Treasury, their money has been released. Even their own source revenue, and that is why we do receiver of revenue audit by the OAG under Article 229. They have done the receiver of revenue, they have done on the equitable shareable revenue, conditional and allocation funds that we give to counties. The money has been received, the work has been done, but the contract has not been paid. For example, Nairobi is leading. I think Nairobi has a pending bill approaching 100 billion plus. And you see some counties are spending. I'm told Nairobi has a legal pending bill of 2 billion Kenya shillings.
Yeah.
You remember, I think one of the city lawyers, I saw somebody saying city lawyer has been shot. Another city lawyer said he defended a land against by Nairobi City worth 8 billion and he was looking for legal fees of 1 billion. So I'm telling you,
Donald Korir?
Yeah,
yes. Okay.
I don't want to disclose. You never know.
We read the papers and we know exactly who's making those claims. Yes, yes.
So the own source revenue, and I'm happy this conversation is happening in this red generation. The spotlight should be on counties and governors.
I am in full agreement.
Because they need to raise their own revenue.
They do.
They have no option. But they raise, but they eat it. Because when we saw, and I saw what they normally do, for example, in Nandi, they issue 2 receipts with 1 serial number. So you find if they are collecting in Mosoria Township, they collect 300 shillings. They produce similar receipts in Nandi's town.
Yes.
Say that one will disappear. And I remember there was a time Nandi was collecting around 600,000 plus in a day, but when they are taking to account to deposit that was it the KCB in Kapsabet town, 100,000 would get lost. between being tabulated by county treasury to the time being taken to, and from the governor's office to the KCB is less than 100 meters. But between here, almost 100,000 disappears. Those are revenue leakages every single day. And Nairobi is worse, of course. Mombasa is worse,
Believe me, it is all over the country. Now it's a question of who loses more money. You see?
Yes.
Because own source revenue, which should be the focus of county governments, is not the focus of county governments. They are governments.
And that is where governors eat. Because they know the money that comes from the national treasury is under requisition. And by the way, we were taking to task control of budget, Margaret Nyakango, because the CO, counties do requisitions.
Yes. They do.
And then when they do requisitions, there is what we call voiding of payments, where you take when you are requesting to control our budget, you are paying Buvi, but you end up paying CT Muga. It's called voiding of payments.
Right.
So you find governors will pay the politically right suppliers and leave the genuine suppliers. And we were asking the COP to give us a legal framework with the National Treasury. And e-procurement was part of the cure, because we were saying on this voiding of payment, which is, by the way, for example, Nandi did avoiding payments of 700 million. Sometimes they accuse FMEs, but this is corruption. Because you are telling COB, I want 100 million to pay Mbuvi.
Yes.
But when that money comes out through IB from the CRF account, county revenue fund from the National Treasury, I pay CT. So that is corruption, and that is how they are stealing. So this issue of voiding of payments, and we have told Controller of Budget Mary Nyagango that this issue of voiding of payments must stop, because that is how counties are misappropriating and stealing funds. You remember when even the Kericho case, the impeachment that we just had, 85 million was paid fictitious payments through companies that did not do supplies or services or goods to the county government of Kericho. 85 million was misappropriated. It was among the charges that the governor faced before the impeachment proceedings. And by the way, for information of Kenyans, we don't impeach. We are a trial chamber. Okay. Impeachment happens at county assembly. Even in the impeachment of the former sitting deputy president, the National Assembly was the ones impeaching. We are only a trial chamber. We only try those impeachment charges. So when you look at this issue of corruption, and in the next 1 hour or so, we are meeting the EACC to discuss the status on the fight against corruption in counties. Because we are seeing a case where the issue of revenue leakages, it is by design. You go somewhere and ask counties, you have digitized your revenue.
Yes.
Who owns them? They are not the one.
Who owns that?
And they pay agency fee up to 10-15%. So if they are collecting 1 million in a day, 15%.
So 150,000.
Correct. So this is, and you are being told there is revenue leakages. You are being told there is a revenue stream like cess, collecting of butchery fee. For example, the slaughtering fee. They are yet to collect the sales fee. And I agree with the danger also with this issue of counties. There is also element of double taxation. Because if I'm buying machine cuts blocks from Thika,
yes,
I come to Nairobi, I pay cess. I get into Nakuru, I pay cess. I get into Kericho, I pay cess. I get into Kisumu, where the final destination, I want to construct a house in Awasi. So there is an element of also double taxation that is also affecting the growth of business in the country, as we have said. Because the more we overtax, the more we sharing the business space. Because if I'm taking something from Nairobi all the way to Awasi, where I want to construct a house, there are many sales points that I'll have to pay. So we also must ensure that the tax regime in counties should not be retrogressive.
But these are discussions.
It should be more progressive.
I have to ask this question. This Council of Governors, what do they discuss when they meet?
That is the point. We wanted them to have a legal framework on Council of Governors so that we can have such conversation. Because I remember the American Tower Company who are constructing these masts. They have paid CAK. They have paid all their licenses, but when they go to Kiambu, they want to erect the mast. They are being told you must pay by the county government of Kiambu, for example. So where are we? Are we undermining the growth of business? Yes, we are, because we are allowing double taxation. They are paid national government for a license from CAK, Communication Authority of Kenya. You have paid everything. Then when you want to go and install your mast, you are being told by Kiambu County government, no. You have to pay the public health. And that is why when you work to some of these businesses in this city and across, the whole world like yours is mosaic. Because you have a certificate of public health, sijui water company, sijui music copyright society of Kenya, sijui elders, Triki Elders Council, sijui nini, all those things are being put here. So at the end of the day, I agree there is a big challenge that we must agree as a nation that for devolution to succeed,
yes,
is we must agree with you that also, by the way, in conclusion, we were in 15 years reviewing devolution, and you realize county governments, our counties 47 have received 4 trillion Kenya shillings. Can you see 4 trillion in
we were actually having that conversation here yesterday with CT.
Yes.
But one thing I also want to ask in the same breath, the Right Honourable Raila Odinga said that is it governors should no longer be answerable to the Senate.
Yes.
What first of all, what did he mean by that, and
yes,
how did the Senate react to this news?
No. First, let me finish on the issue of 4 trillion. So the question is, can you see 4 trillion across the... No. Number 2, we have reduced counties to become employment bureaus. Because by the way, Kisii County Executive is the highest. You know, the wage bill city is 35% should go to wage bill.
Yes.
But Kisii has 57. Nairobi is worse. Nandi is approaching 60%. What does it mean? The money that goes to development will shrink. Yet the principle of development is 30%. That is why when you go to Mashinani and ask Kazi ya county go up, Wananchi will tell you we don't want county because they have not, and that is why they are comparing with CDF.
Yes.
You know, CDF, they don't hire anybody.
No.
They just do program based, and that is why you see development happening. Secondly, on what former Prime Minister said on the issue of the role of oversight by the Senate, I think he was just playing to public gallery. Because if you remember the Oparanya case, Oparanya refused to appear before the Senate Public Accounts Committee. He went to court. He went up to Supreme Court. The Supreme Court told him, you must appear before the Senate. Article 96, we play oversight. And in fact, we play oversight on equitable revenue and any other revenue that goes to the counties. By the way, there are 2 levels of oversight. There is the primary oversight, which is done by county assemblies, and there is the secondary oversight, which is done by the Senate. And in any case, those roles have never clashed, because the courts have ruled. Many people have moved to court to challenge the role of the Senate in the oversight. And that is why all governors must and should appear before the Senate when called upon. The concern, many people misread what the former Prime Minister said.
Yes.
What his worry was that governors were appearing on all committees, standing committees, ICT, health, devolution. His argument was that the governor should appear only before Senate Public Accounts Committee and Senate Public Investment Committee on the issue of PIC. But the point is, Article 96 has given us power to do the oversight. So I think the law is that governors should and must appear before even after former Prime Minister made that statement, governors continue to appear before us, because that is the law. The moment they stop appearing, they will be exposing themselves to legal reprisals or even ground for impeachment by the county assemblies. And when they come to the Senate, if one of the charges will say they did not appear before the Senate as by the Constitution, and that is abuse of office, we will impeach them.
Sir, let me ask you one question. When you are elected and then sworn as a senator or a member of the National Assembly, is there any training you go through in order for you to understand how to conduct business in those houses?
This is called retreat. At the beginning of every session, the Senate or National Assembly organize a retreat. In fact, we also do it mid-term. So at the beginning of after being sworn in, it's normally 1 week, and members are taken through a crash program. Because there is no time also to go and study. Yeah.
So it's 1 week.
It's 1 week.
And what are you?
They are being told maybe what runs the house, like how standing orders operate, the constitution, the order paper, the drafting of bills, statements, motions. You are taken on those spectra. But it's up to you to scale the heights. You know, you chew the gum as you scale the stairs. So you must learn.
You learn on the job.
You learn on the job, because if we were to take you to school, when will you serve the people?
There's a reason why I ask this.
And then in midterm, so that I finish, in midterm also, you do the retreats. And by the way, to be also, another aspect is that individuals, committees normally go to retreat, like during report writing. So it's part of also engagement. So even individual committees, when I was the chairperson of JLAC, sometimes we used to invite, for example, a resource person like you, maybe on media. That's why sometimes we engage media. Media tells us what parliaments do and what they expect of us. We engage, you remember also we are being hosted by Kenya Private Sector Alliance of, is it private sector? Sometimes we engage, I remember Vimal Shah used to chair Private Sector Media Council of Kenya, where you colleagues run from. So even people, experts, we have the power as a house to, as a committee individually, maybe a committee of ICT, we normally sit with the stakeholders of ICT and have a discussion on the legal framework around it and the oversight of those infrastructure. Okay. So it is what we call working, and also to learn on the job, because you're asking whether training is, we do county visits. Like yesterday we visited Machakos on a fact finding. You learn on the job. So it's part of building capacity of a member of parliament. So that we don't have people saying Uziguze Morema and they have never left in Nairobi.
I look at the role that is played by the county assemblies.
Yes.
And the members of the assembly.
Yes.
They are also legislative in nature.
Correct.
But the capacity for them to legislate effectively. Because you talk about double taxation.
But you go back to Elections Act. Because what is a qualification to be an MC?
You've taken me where I was going. Precisely.
But when the parliament wanted to pass the law, you are being told, and I agree, that leadership does not come from academic papers.
No, actually, leadership has to begin with a certain minimal education.
Correct.
Okay.
But these people said, you remember, and I know you have lived on this earth long enough, that to be elected member of parliament those days was to know how to read and write.
It made sense at independence.
Yes.
The thing about education
is
the exposure it gives your mind.
Correct.
And the understanding that increases with that exposure.
But you remember we have struggled with that elections amendment on academic qualification. We have really struggled. Because you are saying a governor and the president must have a degree. Then you say the people oversight them
don't have to.
Yeah, you don't have to. You need post form 4. For example, post form 4, baby elementary education. So the question, if I have a PhD in economics and I'm a governor and I'm being oversighted by an MCA who came from Kericho, he said he could not express himself in English, for example. Honorable Hamus Birir from Kapkatet, he said even he doesn't know how to use, I hope you watch the proceedings, he doesn't know to use even this anatomia mulikamuzi, which this one.
He can't use a smartphone.
A smartphone, that is where I'm coming from. So and we are technology. How do you oversight through technology? If that is the quality of leaders. I agree, by the way, many people don't know. I agree leadership does not necessarily come from academics. But I agree with you that it exposes you, it gives you basic understanding of what you should be doing.
You see,
and I'm telling you, it's a hot potato. Put that conversation today.
You know
anybody, senior politician, will not touch that topic.
What are you on care?
But actually, we must touch it.
Yes.
Yeah.
We must touch it, because if our interest is to actually grow this country as we keep talking.
Correct.
The people who help it grow must have the foundation must be of a certain knowledge that you have.
Correct.
And then you move along from that.
Correct.
Okay? You see, why I'm saying this is, I began by talking about counties and what counties need to do in terms of own source revenue.
So you can imagine the architecture. It needs that.
Yes.
That knowledge, that understanding.
Somebody has to be able to even envision. So when you say it, they actually see it.
Imagine here in Nairobi, if you are an MCA, they must approve annual development plan. the CIDPs, County Integrated Development Plan. For example, the change of approval plans of Kilimani here, for example. You need somebody who can architecture. You need somebody who can architect actuarial science. You need somebody who can understand the legal regime. You need somebody who can understand, because running this, and this, the 60% of GDP is in Nairobi. You leave Nairobi, the earning, somebody said, you don't earn nothing, zero. So I agree with you that, for example, the MCA of Kilimani, the MCA of Roysambu, or wherever they come, and I had Dr. Kipngetich, I think Dr. Julius, is it Dr. Julius, yes, saying that Nairobi is far much too important to be left to MCAs.
But he is not wrong.
Because we must, let me finish my thought.
Yes.
Even my argument has been, I'm a greatest supporter of MCAs and champion of devolution.
Yeah.
But I think we must reconsider making Nairobi a metropolis, or a very, to be managed at different level.
With a CEO.
Correct? No. We actually need to devolve it further.
Yes.
You've heard the talk of boroughs.
Yeah. Yes, boroughs, yes.
Nairobi has cities within cities.
Correct.
These cities must be semi-autonomous. You honestly cannot run Nairobi from one hub. You can't.
You can't. Like when you go to Europe or America, they are run as boroughs, as you have said. Like Kilimani should be run on its own.
Yes.
You go to Lavington, you go to Karen, you go to Roysambu, Eastlands, and all those places. You go to Kawangwara. It is run those ways.
You bring service closer to the people. Yes. Now, this entirety of what we call Nairobi.
Yes.
Everybody has to go to City Hall to get services. My friend, you know, it actually doesn't work.
It doesn't. And that is why it's clogged.
It actually can't work.
Yes.
And if it's
that is why the governor, you had an MCA saying the governor has relocated to private office. Because he can no longer stay in CBD. Because that pressure. And that is why somebody was saying we need to rethink the running of Nairobi.
Yeah.
I know it will need a referendum because, you know, counties have been entrenched, but we must have that conversation. We must say, how do we run Nairobi?
Senator, the referendum aside, this very constitution that we have has a roadmap as to how we can actually do it.
Correct.
This is not something that is impossible to do.
Okay. I think on Nairobi City, I agree with you. Nairobi is far much too important to live to 60 MCS. And one governor and a few CCs.
No.
We must ensure, because it's dysfunctional. Here, outside your office, the road has potholes. You just drive behind.
Serious potholes.
Yeah. Even here, as you join Kindaruma Road, the potholes, your car can disappear. In fact, when you are driving a Vitz, your car will disappear. You might need
and
you know, Nairobi is funny. When you have such accident, they will send you the fire engine. And there is no fire. So you can imagine here in Kilimani only, where your studios are situated.
Yeah.
The roads are pathetic. So you can imagine when you go to Kawangware, you go to Eastlands, you go to
Senator,
all these
discussions are difficult, even with reference to how we should.
But it is important that we are discussing it now.
Because the minimum requirement is for leadership. I'm still going back there.
Yes.
We are in a quagmire that we seem to continue being in, and we never seem to get out of it. And yet, we are the same Kenyans who argue that we have an abundance of human resource.
Correct.
Okay?
In Africa, not in Kenya only.
Now, this abundance,
yes,
somehow when it comes to our politics, we don't want to utilize it. Because the decision-making process that elected leaders like yourselves are involved in, with devolution, a wonderful thing.
Yes.
We get to that level, you want to scratch the bottom of the barrel. You do not want to start the structure with people who already have a certain educational advantage when it comes to being able to prosecute whatever it is they've been elected for. So you then ask the question, the things that we are discussing and we're talking about and which could move the counties forward, so long as we have this particular roadblock at that level, the county governments will really never move.
And by the way, the intention, and I want to thank the drafters and the Kenyans, the intention of devolution was very noble. Because we wanted people in your village, somewhere in Awase, to say our problem is flooding. So what do? We have resources from Nairobi. Governor is in Kisumu. This way in Nandi the same. We have a problem in roads in Mosop. Somebody in Nairobi will not know in National Treasury where Masop is.
They have no idea.
But governor in Kapsabet will know where Masop is and which road to be fixed. So then the intention of devolution was to bring power and resources closer to people to decide on their problems. Because when you are in Kisumu, when you are Makueni, you are in Machakos, the problems Nairobi face and Kiambu are totally different. So the intention of devolution, by the way, was very noble. Because you were thinking, if you centralize, somebody in Ministry of Education will not know that some children somewhere in Kibera, for them to attend school, they don't have food. What do? You that's two feeding program. Although there was a program called Dish in a County, but that one a Dish County. So there is Dish in a County, but one a Dish County here in Nairobi. Yeah. So the point is, we needed this devolution to go to barrows, as we have said. For example, if you are to call a meeting for Kilimani here, their problems could be different. They might want potholes to be repaired. But when you go to Awase, they don't have a road. They want a road to be fixed. So the intention of devolution was very noble. It was intentional to bring equity development. Because I was discussing with some governors, and I was talking to a friend from Mandera, and they were telling me in Garissa, in Marsabit, they were telling me before devolution happened,
yes,
in every financial year, for even 1 billion to city to get to Mandera was hard. But now they are getting billions.
Yes.
And when I went to Mandera and saw the 10 years of devolution, a lot has changed. Although there are challenges of Jubaland, forces occupation in that region and what have you, the issue of Al-Shabaab and insecurity. You go to Marsabit, you go to Garissa, they are telling me, to them in the national budget before devolution, they used to get, at most, Garissa, for example, would get 500 million. But now, courtesy of devolution, they are getting billions. But does it give value?
So
now we have devolved corruption.
Have we realized then the dream of devolution? Or
we have not for the last 14 years, and I've told you counties have received close to 4 trillion, but we are yet to receive. I think we got confused. We turn counties into what we call employment bureaus, where a new governor fires few people, hires new ones. You have seen we are spending also the wastage.
Yes.
By the way, I saw another governor, I don't know whether from Narok, governor of Narok. When I saw his convoy, it's more than the president. I was shocked.
Olen Tutu.
Yes. But a few months ago, they were going to Seganani to open a project worth 10 million, and the vehicles that were, the fuel that was being consumed is more than what they were being launched. So the question is, there is a wasteful public expenditure within counties. One, they also train you. This training you are talking about, and they must love you for that, because you are talking about trainings. They will want to leave Nandi, hotels in Kapsabet, and go and train in Mombasa.
Yes.
They will pay higher tickets. They will pay per diem.
Yes.
They will pay meals.
Yes.
They will pay facilitators like you. I'm not saying you are a facilitator, but I'm just using as an example.
Yes, I'm a good example.
Yes, you are a good example.
And you want to be facilitated.
you want to be facilitated. So when you look at, when you come down and look at, I saw in OAG report of 2023-2024, Nandi used 42 million to do higher services.
Yes.
42 million. And there are no roads. The governor of Nandi decided, I need to hire Prado and double cap 12,000 per day. They are much more important than drugs in Kapsabet County Referral Hospital or roads. And the roads counties do feeder roads where they just grade and put mara. But he has realized, no. Let me do a kaya hire of 42 million. I'm too important to be using some junkies, 42 million. But yet the bursary is 60 million. So the question is the priorities, and that is why now the MCS come in, because they are the ones doing that budget. By the time the governor put 42 million to do higher services, for example,
right,
that budget was approved by the county assembly. Now it comes to the capacity that you are talking about.
Precisely it.
Correct.
I want to go back as the time is winding down to the term limits.
Yes.
Our structure mirrors that of the US.
But I saw the fake bill saying I had given everybody term limit. From MCA to the president. And it means it might pass quickly because everybody will look at that for.
You are a politician, and once you speak, whatever you speak will be subject.
But I've never spoken about
will be subject to scrutiny and addition as people see fit.
But by the way, yes.
What they call the House of Representatives in the US have a 2-year term.
Congress.
2-year term.
Yes.
Senate,
Yes, and then
Senate,
midterm. Yes.
that midterm. Senate, 6 years.
Yes.
You see, I'm giving this example for one reason. When you talk about term limits, there's nowhere where it is mandated that it must be uniform. The need to have a discussion about what works for us, as opposed to just throwing the number of years at people.
Oh, yeah, I agree.
All right? The French have a very good reason why they changed the terms to 7. There's a reason, there's logic behind it. They didn't always have it, but experience has taught them that was why they went about it the way they did. When we look at the decisions that are made by both houses, are these decisions always in the best interest of the citizens?
But politics is about interest.
That is why I have asked
there's
about the
interest of the
interest.
people.
There's
There's the interest of the people.
Is it
So
possible?
I agree with you. I agree with you that that we must relook what is the interest. For example, I agree. You have given a good example of the US, because after every 2 years they go.
You have to go back.
I think the midterm Americans doing it this year or next year.
House of Representatives, 2 years.
I think this year.
Yes.
Yes. Then the Senate has 6 years.
Yes.
There is a reason to that, and I agree with you. Even the president 4 years.
The reason why I'm saying what I'm saying, Senator,
Yes.
is because of something very, very simple. Politicians in this country don't seem to understand that when you focus on the interest of those who elected you, you're actually focusing on your own interest.
Correct.
They seem to have invested thinking that when they look after their interest, then they'll be able to look after the interests of the people. Yet, when the people's interests are looked after, you are secure.
Agreed.
Absolutely
Because if you
secure.
deliver, you are sure of your re-election.
You are secure.
Whether it is two-term or such matters.
Senator, I want us to take a very short break. We do a little bit of news. Then when we return, I have a lot of questions actually, also in regards to the
What
Senate.
are you going to leave?
You not hold me too much.
Don't worry. We won't hold you for a very long time, but a few more questions before we let you go. So don't go too far. We'll be right back.
You can send me the questions up. Maybe I can answer through the social media.
Okay.
All right, we'll be right back shortly.
The sound is fine, pump it up, turn it high all the time. Let the music move you, let's sway. Radio G's got your jam all day.
Radio Generation, the home of urban soul. This is the Radio Generation News.
Good morning, I'm Winnie Maganga. Kenya is set to carry out its first ever national survey on mental health, with a newly inaugurated advisory committee expected to oversee and guide the landmark exercise. The Ministry of Health on Tuesday launched the National Advisory Committee, the National Baseline Mental Health Survey, which will generate the country's first national representative data on mental health conditions. The advisory team, chaired by Health Director General Patrick Amoth and represented at the launch by Dr. Bashir Isaac, Head of Family Health, will provide oversight and direction throughout the survey. The Central Organization of Trade Unions has urged the Senate to withdraw and re-examine the Business Laws Bill, saying it goes against key constitutional safeguards on workers' rights and unionization. Kotu said the bill is inconsistent with Article 41 of the Constitution, which guarantees the right to trade union membership, and warned that its provision could severely weaken protection for workers in Kenya's fast-growing technology and digital economy sectors. In a statement, Kotu Secretary General Francis Atwoli said the bill introduces measures that risk limiting workers' access to justice and eroding fundamental freedoms protected under Article 10, 27, 41, 47, 48, and 108 of the Constitution. The Supreme Court is warning against Kenya's long history of mistrust in elections. In its latest advisory opinion on the mandate of the Independent Electoral and Boundaries Commission, The court said the legitimacy of Kenya's democracy depends not just on strong institutions, but also on leaders respecting the constitution and the will of the people. The judges recalled how the country's elections have repeatedly faced credibility questions, from the Kriegler Commission findings after the 2007-2008 post-election crisis to the legal battles that followed the 2022 presidential vote. The National Police Service Commission has revealed that the budget for the recruitment of 10,000 police constables was directly allocated to the National Police Service. This undermined their ability to independently and effectively discharge its recruitment mandate. Appearing before the Committee on Administration and Internal Security, NPSC Chair Amani Yuda and CEO Peter Lelei said the forthcoming recruitment might be jeopardy following the budget allocation impasse.
In terms of the recruitment of the 10,000 constables, whose budget, again through this committee and the National Assembly, was appropriated.
The current challenges in executing the functions, including any overlaps that impede effective policing and governance.
We are generally in concurrence with our colleagues from the command side in terms of ensuring that we attain the shortest time possible because of the urgency with which we are expected to deliver on this.
US President Donald Trump has said Israel's strike on Hamas targets in Qatar does not advance Israel or America's goals, adding that he feels very badly about the location of the attack. In a Truth Social post on Tuesday, Trump said he was notified that Israel was attacking Hamas in the capital Doha by the US military, but it was unfortunately too late to stop the attack. He said the decision was made by Israel's Prime Minister Netanyahu and not by him, before praising Qatar as a strong ally and friend. Here's the White House Press Secretary Caroline Leavitt.
President Trump immediately directed Special Envoy Witkoff to inform the Qataris of the impending attack, which he did. The president views Qatar as a strong ally and friend of the United States and feels very badly about the location of this attack.
So is the president upset with Netanyahu now?
The president made his thoughts and concerns about this very clear, and he spoke again both to Prime Minister Netanyahu and also the Emir and the Prime Minister of Qatar after this attack. And the president has always made it very clear that he wants peace in the Middle East, just like he sought that and accomplished that in his first term. He expects all of our allies and friends in the region, that includes both Qatar and Israel, to seek peace as well. And he wants to see that happen, and he's working with all of our allies in the region to get that done.
And that's the Truth on Radio Generation. Good morning, I'm Winnie Maganga.
In the beginning, there was morning radio. But now there is Radio Generations, the people's breakfast. Curious and bold, getting facts from the shadows.
That's what it is.
Now, as the city wakes and secrets stir, a bright new voice shines. The people's breakfast. Your morning, your voice, your journey. Good morning.
Good morning, my neighbor!
Welcome to the home of hard truths and bold insights. Radio Generation.
Welcome back. This is Radio Generation. The time right now is 7 minutes past 9 o'clock. Senator ametuambia tumpatie dakika 5 alafu atoke. This is a senator from Nandi County. Umesema tuseme from
Republic of Kenya, from Nandi.
Got you. So Senator from Nandi County, Samson Cherargei, welcome back to the studio, sir.
Thank you.
We're just talking about basically the Senate and how it operates, and some of the things you've mentioned by the quite important, and especially about oversight. And I think maybe perhaps going forward, and I think the Constitution is very young, if you ask me.
Yes.
There's this question
It's a teenager, is a bubbling teenager,
Yeah.
15 years.
Yes. Do you think?
Maybe
Sorry.
I can conclude by saying,
Right.
I didn't conclude this part because on the oversight, because we are discussing the operations of the Senate,
Yes.
is many people have accused Parliament and largely Senate for abetting corruption in counties. Many people don't know that Senate only recommends. So when we listen to Nairobi City County or Nandi, for example, we do our consideration of the audit reports and recommend maybe to EACC, to DCI, to professional bodies like ISPAC. By the way, when we find audit issues and we find professional misconduct, we normally refer for ISPAC for professional misconduct, even LSK and many other bodies. So many Kenyans should understand that Parliament only recommends for either investigation and possible prosecution. And that is why many people get mad and say, what is Parliament doing about corruption? For example, why is county stealing? What is Senate doing? The only thing we can do is to recommend to EACC, for example, to investigate.
Yes.
And that is where our and maybe follow up, like the way we want to do today with the EACC, maybe to ask them, we did refer an issue of legal fees in Nairobi City. There was a breach somewhere in Kericho that was not fixed. There was a non-payment of staff or statutory deductions by Garissa County government. What are you doing about? So so that Kenyans understand and your listeners understand, Parliament or the Senate only make recommendation for investigation and prosecution. I think Kenyans believe that it is us who should. Then we should amend the constitution and give us powers to prosecute. Because even after EACC has investigated or DCI, the DPP must look at the file.
Yes.
They can either return for enrichment or prosecute. And you remember the Obado case that the EACC and DPP are fighting over. I think there was a plea agreement that they refund, I think 300 plus around 300 million. The case was worth 5 or 3 million. So those are some of the issues we are facing with the fight against corruption in counties. And I think going into the future, we will need to refocus. And therefore, I wanted to tell Kenyans that the only role Parliament and National Assembly and the Senate is to recommend. What does recommendation mean? Either it goes through or not. So if EACC investigates and they don't find a case, it collapses there. If they investigate and then to DPP says this case is not prima facie case, that is why people are arguing that there is a weak link in the fight against corruption. The fight against corruption and oversight are intertwined.
Okay.
Because when we disperse money to fix the road, that money gets lost. It is up to the necessary agencies to do the trail of that money and ensure. And that is why, by the way, in conclusion, we did pass the Conflict of Interest Act, which the president signed. By the way, it's part to punish corruption and also to enrich oversight. The issue of Anti-Money Laundering Act that was passed to ensure that the money that is being stolen through corruption and unknown sources cannot be laundered by buying property in Kilimani and across the country. Or buying property in Dubai or wherever, or taking it to Cayman Islands, or there was the famous papers that were published. Was it Pandora? It was called. There was a name that were the papers. There is also those tax haven countries, and I think the issue of Conflict of Interest Act, the issue of anti-money laundering, the issue of Anti-Economic Crimes Act that was passed in 2003. All this is to enrich oversight, because people will say, money came, it was budgeted, but we don't see the project.
Last but not least, there's a question here about the issue of Senator Oruoba. What do you think is going to happen in that particular situation? Because
why?
Because the court said one thing, and then we have this other situation where another person was actually sworn in.
That is overtaken by events. You know very well that in fact, my advice is for her to pursue payment of salary in full and other benefits
for the remaining the remainder of the term.
Yeah, because somebody else has been sworn. It's like the former impeached deputy president. He cannot get back to office. The only way to get justice is to push for the benefits and salaries, for example. As long as the courts do not find him with an offense or violating the law. I think now that new senator has been sworn in, the matter rests there. I saw the drama that tried to happen at the gate. You know, Kenya is very interesting because you might have a court order, but that is it. Just have a court order.
That is because we're in Kenya. Yet a court order should mean something, shouldn't it?
But you know, the court order came late after the new, by the time, by the way, when somebody, let me just, for your listeners and for the benefit of this discussion, there is a process before you are being sworn in. So I don't know what she did until the party deregistered her.
Yes.
Until the IBC gazetted, until being sworn in the unapata court order. So it is a process. So by the time somebody is gazetted, is done this and this being sworn in, yet there is no court order, and then it is hard because.
Yeah, but then there's the court process which she can't determine, and she has no control over.
But you know, the courts can tell you your mother is being hard and determined, but they don't give you orders.
Okay.
You remember there was a governor who moved to court and wanted to challenge, I think, Governor Guyo, the criminal proceedings. Luckily, he got a court order to stop criminal. There is a governor who went for anticipatory bail, but he didn't succeed. And the courts told them, we just go and suspect yourself to the legal process. So what happened in this case is that the legal process is ongoing, but the other processes are ongoing because there is no court stopping them. Like e-procurement, if the governor
is saying they could have stopped that process.
If he had brilliant legal minds, they should have argued that we are at risk of being registered.
So let's stop this process.
First, let us get a court order stopping everything.
As the court determines the next action.
Correct.
So.
Okay.
So, hapo alifikwa kaput.
Thank you very much, Senator Cherargei. It's been an absolute pleasure having you in studio.
Yes. Maiden.
Yes.
It's called maiden appearance.
And we thank you for honoring the invitation.
No, I will come again. We'll have this because when we stop talking together, we start fighting.
Sure.
So let's have this conversation. And I'm happy they call radio generation.
Yes.
And I'm happy that you are being listened to areas.
Right.
That many others do not have coverage.
Yes.
And I'm impressed. I hope soon we shall have it around North Rift.
Oh, yes.
So that when I'm in my village in Nandi, I can tune in.
Can tune in and listen.
And also send a few texts or tweets.
But this, Senator, let me ask you something. This is, off the politics.
Yes.
People usually see what is happening between politicians and unachupiana cheche nyingi sana.
Yes.
For example, between you and the current CS for Interior.
Yes.
Is that usually a skit, or it's actually real?
No, but I'll answer that question on two parts. One is that as politicians, you're asking me, those are people in executive. Let me answer. As politicians, we are friends, all of us. By the way, even from different formation, we eat in the same restaurant, we eat in the same lounge, we travel in the same vehicles,
right?
We go to the same meetings. What you see on the microphone ends there.
Yeah.
Our families interact, our children interact. So hiyo ni vipindi. So usidanganywe. That is why your former friend MP, was it before Luwakoli? He said wanasiasa ni mashetani. Because by the way, when Kenyans come to parliament and see some of us sitting with people you imagine we are fighting off, some people will die of heart attack.
Right.
On the matter of CS Interior, that is incompetence and underperformance, and that is why I've been very clear on him.
Yeah.
And we don't have any relationship with him.
Okay.
It's just on the issue of incompetence and ability to deliver under the Ministry of Interior. That's why you see there are rising cases of muggings in town, and I'm happy media you are lighting. You saw even drive-in shootings that we are seeing through border.
Yes.
We have seen criminal elements burning matatus because however tragic accidents are, it should not reduce ourselves to burning property. We are now encouraging lawlessness and arsonism in the country. So that incompetence, and this comes in after doing what we call jukwaa la usalama. And that jukwaa la usalama is reduced to jukwaa la kisiasa.
Yeah.
Because when he came to Nandi, there are many issues was raised on issue of alcohol, illicit. By the way, in Kapsabet, like 100 meters from Kapsabet police station, somebody was killed the other day. Markings are happening. This issue was discussed in jukwaa la usalama. But because he has turned it into jukwaa la kisiasa, he just wrote notes and nothing has been done about the situation in security in my county, for example.
Yeah.
Because I'm familiar with it. Nairobi is not going concern. You are living at the mercy. By the way, that's why when you are working in town, you must keep your phone or your valuables.
If you were president, what docket would you give him then?
No, there would be no docket. He would not even serve as a village elder. Because he's incompetent.
Someone is saying, I'm happy with how the senator answers his questions. What do you think about Ruto at 3?
No, President Ruto's government has delivered very well. I'm happy one of your sister stadiums covered yesterday, Mukuru kwa Njenga. We have that success story. Affordable housing program, we are doing very well. Education reforms are a bit tricky, but I'm happy grade 9, the transition is happening. The university funding model, we have reviewed the visa, and I'm happy because when, us, we are what we call over-glorified social workers. Every day, every weekend, you are either in Harambee for medical bills, for school fees. So I'm happy that review. Another success story which is facing a lot of headwinds is on the SHA. If SHA works, by the way, it will reduce a number of Harambees. I know all of you are in WhatsApp groups too for medical bills. I mean, it's 4 currently. Mine I can't mention. If I give you my phone, you'll collapse. So we hope that SHA can work. I know there are many challenges. There are many concerns. As a Senate ICT committee, yesterday we have agreed that we need to do system audit. By writing to OAG to do system audit of the SHA so that we can get, because when we went to Machakos, for example, they were telling us they are being owed 500 billion Kenya shillings by SHA. So these are things that we can work with. Another issue that the president is on infrastructure. I'm happy that the pending bills has been paid. You can see at least a number of tarmac roads, even in Nandi and here in Nairobi and across the country. You can see there is slow but steady reopening of roads, especially on tarmac. The issue of electricity to the Mashinani and many other areas, that is something we are still working on. The issue of devolution, at least the disbursements has come timely. The issue on the fight against corruption, I'm happy the president has given political goodwill, even calling out parliament, calling out judiciary, calling out counties on the fight against corruption. So all these factors, the president at 3, in my own opinion, has performed exceptionally well, more than the 4 combined presidents since independence. Exceptionally well, considering this, even on the status of economy. You know, when President Uhuru left, he had given the government of President William Ruto 3 months to collapse because he knew the economy was doing badly. But at least the economy has stabilized, despite the challenges of protests that we saw at the beginning of the year. On the issue of finance bill, I know there is what we call, I saw some newspaper which has reduced itself to a tabloid by saying there is a debt crisis. But they are not telling the country. And I know ICT Muga is laughing. He knows that newspaper. I don't know. And those people are new in Jerusalem. Yeah. Because President Uhuru Kenyatta left this country with a debt of 10 trillion Kenya shillings. No one is discussing about it. But you have to borrow. When we wanted to raise revenue through finance bill, Kenyans went on the streets and said no taxes. But they want development. And there are only 2 options where government can get revenue to do development. Either taxation or borrowing. So we don't have an option. You need a tarmac road in Kisumu. You need a tarmac road here in Nairobi. I need a tarmac road in Nandi. But what do? You have told me don't tax. So you have to borrow to run government. So in fact, the management of economy and debt crisis and debt issues, you have to give it to the president. And that is why when we went to parliament, we attached the debt ceiling to GDP, the percentage of GDP. And I think looking at the debt, we must look it at all. I think the only issue.
What's our ratio currently?
I think we are approaching what we raised. It's more than 50. So we must rethink. I think the only thing I have said, and I have insisted, by the way, we must do audit of the current debt, because the internal and external debt. I know the concern of Kenya should not be the borrowing of debt per se. It should be where is it going. When you borrow, for example, 200 billion from World Bank, what are they attached to which projects? And I agree with them. Then we need to audit in this 10 trillion plus debt, the internal and external. Who are these? Okay. Because we could be paying maybe higher. Because we are raising almost close to 2 to 3 trillion, 2.something trillion in my correct? Okay. Under KRA, we are paying 1.2 trillion. The national budget we have in Kenya is 4 trillion. Yep. So if you are raising 1.2 trillion, you are paying 1.2 trillion to public debt, you remain with 800 billion. You have a national debt, a national budget of 4 trillion. So you have to borrow close to 3 trillion to finance the budget. And this budget must be financed for some of the programs, including payment of salaries of civil servants, development, and other agenda. So in terms of economy, in fact, the local economy, let's go to Unga. By the time President Uhuru left, Unga was uploading 250.
Okay.
Now it has come around 100 shillings, and you no longer see people wearing sufurias in the streets. So, and I can tell you as a farmer, in conclusion, I can tell you as a farmer, and we celebrate the president.
Yes.
You are a farmer. I'm a farmer, because at least I know you are my neighbor, and you are a farmer. So even in the sugar sector, you know, he has a farm of sugar.
Oh yeah, I know.
Yes. So we have even, in fact, the sugar sector now are earning bonus. Where I come from, and he knows, and everybody knows who is a farmer.
Yeah.
When the president was taking over, 50 kilos of fertilizer was 7,000 shillings. He has subsidized to 2,500 shillings. That is why the food security of this country is more certain. I can tell you, for the first time, we are likely to harvest 80 million bags of maize in the history of this country. It has never happened.
Okay.
You have seen even in Mwea, Nyatike, Awasi, there is rice. And that is why they were even objecting the gazettement of importation of tax duty-free rice. You have seen for the first time, City, and Buvi, for the first time, we are stable in terms of sugar in the country. Before, by this time, the Gazette notice should have come out, importation of duty-free sugar, because the demand of sugar in the country was too high. Now we are having even a better supply of sugar within the country. And I'm saying this because I come from sugar belt, sugar growing area, especially Nandi and Kisumu and other regions, even here in Kilifi. So looking at President William Ruto at 3, I can say without fear of contradiction, that the president has done 99.9% of the promises he's made in Kenyans. But there is still room for more, despite the challenges that we are facing. And that is why our opponents don't have an agenda.
You know, as you conclude, there are those who argue that if you do the audit that we're talking about of our debts, they argue that our debts are something, what we need to pay, and which they complain and say we shouldn't pay, and which are odious, are the equivalent of 2.2 trillion. So they're saying
it was 2.3 trillion.
Yes. I give them a discount.
Okay.
So if we do not pay that debt,
the better for us.
not only that, this burden that we're speaking of will not exist. So we'll likely be able to live within the means
then
of
as
what
a
it is
country,
that
we should have a courage to audit that debt. And that have never changed. And you know, I was saying it could be state capture like the Guptas of South Africa. So I agree with you. The OAG has an obligation. By the way, I'm told in National Assembly there is a committee on debt. Are you aware? Being chaired by that should be their work. They should be demanding for the audit of the debt, so that yani tubainishe mbichi na mbivu, so that we are not leaving into media to guesswork like some tabloid newspapers they have reduced themselves to. Because now you know, when you have that committee, and I think you should invite the chairman. What was the name? I think I'll recall the name. I'll let you look for him. I'll send you the list. I'll send you the membership
on
of that committee. Yes, on the debt committee and the chair, so that you invite and ask them, as a parliament, have you taken a position on the audit of the public debt? Because there are many stories. You saw former chair of budget saying his things. You saw the CS of National Treasury saying his things.
Were they valid? Are they valid?
No, they are not valid. I don't know when people, why do the people, when they leave the seats, they become clever?
Senator.
Too much end.
We can have this conversation on and on. What I'm just saying is, let the Committee on Public Debt in National Assembly that was set by the standing orders. Article 123 of the Constitution recognizes standing committees and the standing orders of Parliament, both nationals and the Senate. I want you to invite the committee chair or any member of public debt and ask them, can we get the correct position on the public debt, so that we are not left at the mercy of Tom, Dick and Harry, who can just analyze and say, we want. And by the way, National Treasury will tell you every time they submit the reports on public debt to that committee. So what have they done about it?
All right. Thank you very much, Senator, for coming to Radio Generation. Ni venye tu kona haraka. Nilikuwa na maswali mengi. For example,
it's okay. I'll come back in 2 weeks time.
So we will invite you.
On a light note, Mheshimiwa, 1 term ama 2 term?
2 term, of course. I thought by the time my conversation has been around 2 term. I'm a man of two term.
Yes, so that is Senator Samson Cherargei.
Yes.
He is
and thank you for the invitation.
Karibu sana.
To the home of hard truths and bold insights.
Oh yes.
Radio Generation.
We shall always keep
it's
it hard
always a pleasure
and true.
Okay.
Karibu sana.